Thank you for coming out and thank you for supporting me and my family. This book, this message that has literally gone around the world and come back to meet us. We have been just honored to get messages from China and Germany and all of these fabulous places. People are doing 15 minutes of grace. They're not doing it because of me, they're doing it because the message resonates. And there's something about taking the time to just sit still. Just sit still. I think all of Virginia today needs to get somewhere and sit down. And just sit down. Everybody stop talking, stop tweeting, stop reading all that stuff. Just sit down. Just sit down. We can all stand to be a little more gracious to each other. So I'm going to read from the 7-day challenge, which is part of the workbook piece to this, and it's called Reflect. Reflect means to think about, to give thought to turn over in one's mind, to see the same thing differently, to mirror back the image and likeness of a thing. The quote we used was, sometimes you have to look back in order to understand the things that lie ahead. Yvonne Boone. A couple of years ago, I was honored to give a talk on compassion fatigue for a conference filled with human services workers. At the end, I issued the 15 Minutes of Grace Challenge and was contacted by one of the attendees a few weeks later. Stacy, I protected her name, it's not really her name. Stacy was a single mother of 5 who worked in a local government agency for over 15 years. She went on to explain her professional and personal frustrations along with her devastation from being recently divorced. In a word, Stacy was tired. Next, I thought she would tell me how the practice was helping her cope, but instead she said, "What's wrong with me? Why isn't this working? I have all of these stressful situations happening in my life, and I don't feel any different." I paused. I gave her words a chance to settle between us, and then I simply asked if her kids were at home, and if she wouldn't mind calling them so that I could ask them one simple question. She looked completely suspicious, but she dialed her home number and hit the speaker button so that I could talk to her kids. Once she introduced me to her oldest, I asked if he would gather his siblings around the phone. Once everyone was together, I let them know that I only had one question to ask. Several weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting your mom at a conference hosted by her job. Have any of you noticed a change in her behavior since she came back from out of town? There was silence. And then her youngest, who was 6, said, "Mommy doesn't yell as much." The other children immediately broke into laughter and began telling me stories about how when she's stressed out, she will quickly ask them to give her 15 minutes of grace. They even put her in timeout if they think she needs it a minute before engaging with them. They agreed that she does seem calmer and doesn't fuss quite so much or as loud as she used to. The look on her face was priceless. Instead of being mad at her kids, she laughed too. She reminded them of some chores and got off the phone. Stacy needed time to reflect, to consider how the practice was changing her, to see if the reflection of herself now mirrored who she was before we met. And for the next 10 minutes, we sat in silence. Soon, a giggle from deep within her belly erupted, bringing with it tears and sighs that drew quite a bit of attention from the other diners. Her tears came so fast, she stopped trying to wipe them away and just let them run down her face as waves of relief swept over her body. I held space for her, and when she was done, this was her revelation. "Sheila, I was so busy doing the practice, I didn't take time to stop, reflect, and appreciate the progress I was making." Then her voice softened and she said, "Okay, I guess it's really working." If we only take time to reflect on our problems and not our progress, we do a great disservice to ourselves by not acknowledging our own development. I challenge you to reflect and allow yourself to celebrate the positive changes you will make over the next 30 days with this book. Write down each milestone as it comes. and offer yourself an act of loving kindness as a reward. If remembering is a struggle, then ask a trusted friend or your kids to reflect back to you the image of your beautiful soul rising. You just might be surprised how far you've come and the joy that bubbles up when you acknowledge it. Thank you.